Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey folks, this is Freedom Fighter and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues with Freedom Fighter and Jester. Hope everyone's doing good. Excuse me. Today is August the 24th, 2024, 8/24/24. I hope everyone has had an amazing, productive week and weekend so far as well. Tonight's call is jam-packed with so much information. I'm not going to hold you all too long with too much information because we're going to jump right into it. My man Jester, I see you here. You here?
Yeah, you know you're going to cover them up. Give me a break.
How you doing, young man?
I am doing wonderful.
All right. We're going to rock and roll because we got some powerful information that we're going to go over, and I know you and I spoke earlier, and you're
Right.
already impressed and ready to go. We're going to start out with prayer, and we're going to jump right into it. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, brother. Father God, we thank you for allowing us, as always, to be together as a tribe with this amazing vibe. We love you. We appreciate you, Father God, for your mercy, your grace upon us. We ask that you give Jester and I the words and the heart to be able to articulate the message tonight with the articles from Goldilocks and the information that we have to share. We ask that you cover everyone on their travels. We ask you to protect everyone as they go forth, back and forth, wherever they are. Protect their families, protect their hearts, their minds, their finances. Father God, we glorify you, we honor you, and in your precious name we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, folks, real quick, we're going to touch on some quick announcements. When we get to the Q&A, please remember to ask questions. That's not the time to get on a pedestal and make a bunch of comments. Of course, we appreciate your comments. We love what's on your heart, but we want to keep it to a certain decorum and make sure you ask questions so that Jester and myself can be able to answer them for you. Also, real quick, don't forget, Saturday, not just Saturday Night Dialogues on every Saturday at 9 p.m., but then we have Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, which is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, we have Jester's Place that is also open Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern Standard to 11. And then, of course, on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, right before this call at 9. Jester's Place is where he drops a ton of his jewels, a ton of his humor, and a ton of fun. All right. And then also on Thursdays, we have our higher learning call with Anastasia and myself at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's where we are honored to have Anastasia to take us to a higher vibration and understanding spiritually of who we are, where we're going, not only in life, but also related to the RV. We were so blessed last night, yesterday. We were honored to have Wiley Morgan did a call. It was at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It wasn't finished until 9 p.m., 3 hours, jam-packed. He went over humanitarian projects, circles of influence, lessons that he's learned as well. Also, he gave us a lot of inside information on meetings that he had with various agencies responsible for the GCR, the whole entire global process. For those that may not know, Wiley Morgan is a former Iraqi U.S. veteran, but served in Iraq Special Forces. He also was a consultant and did security for the government of Iraq, specifically the Kurdistan region. For those of you who may constantly hear in dinar land about the HCL, that is the negotiations and agreements between the Kurdistan region of Iraq and Baghdad. Okay. And so Wiley also participated in the Kuwaiti RV. He got in on the tail end, but he dropped a lot of information last night. And also, we were so fortunate to have Jester come in at the tail end. And like I said in the room earlier, Jester was the icing on the cake of the call with Wiley. So we appreciated both of those gentlemen for taking some time with us yesterday to share their knowledge. Also, before we get into the details of the call tonight, I believe we have a special guest that has made an appearance, and I want to acknowledge her. Dee, are you here? Dee Gross. I believe I saw you. I know I'm kind of going off. Dee, if you can raise your hand, I want to quickly. There you go. How you doing, young lady? You can unmute, Dee.
Okay, I'm fine, thank you. I hope everyone's having a good evening.
Yes, and you and I talk periodically throughout the week quite often, and I know you are still. For those that don't know, Dee had a little accident at home, and she was in the hospital for quite some time. Had to have some surgery. She was in and out of the hospital for a few weeks, but she's home now, and we've been praying for her. Wanted to acknowledge her, and also,
thank you,
folks. You're welcome, Dee. About 2.5 weeks ago, I know that you and Goldilocks had a conversation with the Central Bank of Iraq. And for those that don't know, Dee has an amazing direct relationship with the Central Bank of Iraq. And her and Goldilocks speak to their contact at the CBI regularly. Dee has relationships that span globally, especially in the Middle East, whether it be the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the Prime Minister of Dubai, the UAE. And 2 weeks ago, I almost slipped and told everyone on a call, Dee, about a meeting conversation about a meeting that you and Goldilocks had with the CBI. And I said that you guys often have meetings and you get information in advance, weeks or months in advance, about what the CBI is going to be doing. Lo and behold, about 3 weeks after I almost slipped and said that, the Central Bank of Iraq announced that they were coming to the United States at the end of August. Actually, it's going to be on Monday. And thanks to you, D, and Goldilocks, I almost slipped and said it, but I'm glad I didn't. But so, D, if you can,
bankers.
huh?
They
Say it
will
again.
They're going to be meeting with the bankers in the United States. That's all I know.
Mhm.
He was supposed to get back with me and tell me which banks they were, who's going to be at the meeting, and he has been extremely busy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but it was because of your relationship there, and the conversations that were had. You and Goldilocks were aware weeks in advance about the meeting coming up on Monday, and I sort of slipped. But it's just when folks, when you hear people in Dinarland talking about their boots on the ground, their relationships with Iraq and so forth and so on. Of course, as you all know by now, you see that things don't come to pass. But here we have the honor of having D and Goldilocks in our circles, where they know in advance. I'm sure some of you remember 2 or 3 weeks ago when I mentioned about there was going to be a meeting coming up, and I almost slipped, but then on that call. But D, we appreciate you and what you do. You're like a silent assassin behind the scenes with your relationships. Huh?
I said thank you.
Yes. All right, we appreciate you so much, and we're going to jump right into the articles tonight. We don't want to belabor any more time because it's jam packed, folks. Hope you have your pen, paper, and something to write on. Like I said yesterday, if not, then you may have to prick your finger and use blood. All right. And we're going to get right into this. It is, and what we're going to discuss tonight, we're going to talk about the Department of Treasury, and Goldilocks shared yesterday some details coming out from the Department of the Treasury and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for a hearing, a comment period that will be on October the 21st, 2024. Then we're going to get into ISO, International Standardization Organization, which is the communication messaging technology that allows the transactions, instant payments and instant transactions within the quantum financial system, and it allows the payment systems in various countries to communicate with each other in order for those transactions to instantly be settled. So whether those transactions are wire transfers, deposits, withdrawals, and yes, currency exchanges. And we're talking large amounts of money. Not only were you and I at a banking institution to do exchanges with a little few bit of millions, we're talking about this messaging system allows countries and central banks to transact daily billions and billions, some oftentimes trillions of dollars. And we're going to see how Goldilocks has connected the dots to allow us to see the pieces of the puzzle where how these countries, yes, Iraq, yes, Vietnam, yes, the United States and other countries around the world, to have the technology in place to communicate, to have a common language to communicate with each other in order for our transactions and our exchanges to be successful. That will come from the ISO 222 article that Goldilocks has shared. Then we're going to talk about an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which is a contract between China and Vietnam. This is huge that we're going to talk about, that Goldilocks has shared as well. And then we're going to end on the meeting coming up on Monday that the central bank will have in the United States. And yes, this is the meeting that Dee and Goldilocks shared with me in private a few weeks ago that I almost slipped and told you guys about when I was told to keep it to myself. Oh, and another thing, Goldilocks, sometime probably tonight, sometime, will share a little sneak peek on something regarding the QFS that will be disclosed on Monday. And this is bigger than big. It's huge. As President Trump would say, it's huge what Goldilocks is going to share on Monday, and I believe sometime tonight. It was something, just think that the expectation of something was to be disclosed later is being disclosed a lot sooner. And that's all I can say on that. All right. So we're going to jump right into the very first article by Goldilocks. And it's packed with, and you're going to be able to see the connecting of the dots, the communication between the financial agencies, not only here in the United States that are relevant to our exchanges, but also global agencies that are relevant, whereby they will all communicate with each other. And that communication amongst each other, we will see, is the exchange of data. All right, let's jump right into it. Just the other day, Goldilocks says we spoke of the Financial Data Transparency Act. So Goldilocks is referencing an article that was shared going back to Wednesday, and this is a follow-up. And this was from yesterday. Today, meaning yesterday, we're going to look at the Financial Data Transparency Act joint data standards. So this joint data standards, again, it is the joint communication amongst these financial agencies, and that communication is the data sharing of information for not only the global the quantum financial system, but the global transactions and local transactions here in the U.S. This proposed act, Goldilocks says, will enable transparency and financial data sharing between the following departments. It's very important to understand what these departments do. The first, we see the Department of Treasury, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Understand and know, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, it is under the Department of the Treasury, which I likened to say the Department of the Treasury is the king of the RVs. Think globally, because all countries are connected to the Department of Treasury. And a lot of this information is also relevant to what Jester has shared as well regarding some of these agencies and his connections with the Treasury. So that's the Department of Treasury with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Reserve, of course, the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is the insurance arm of the banking system. I'm sure many of you already are aware of the FDIC. So think these agencies that Goldilocks is showing are going to be communicating and exchanging information amongst each other. National Credit Union Administration, Some of you may be I'm just throwing it out there. Some of you may already bank with a credit union, may be exchanging at a credit union. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the CFPB, which is if someone has a complaint about banking, if someone has a complaint regarding your credit, the CFPB is the agency where you file that complaint. The Federal Housing Finance Agency, of course, we're familiar with that. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission. What will all of our currencies around the world be backed with? Commodities. What will Iraq back the dinar with? Commodities. What will Vietnam back the dong with? Commodities. USD. Commodities, gold, silver, precious metals, those are commodities. So we have the Commodities Future Trade Commission, which is how its headquarters, of course, is in the United States, Washington, D.C., but it's a global agency. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. Under the umbrella of the SEC, not only do we have paper currencies now, whereby, for example, Iraq, the dinar was registered as a security by the end of June, I believe it was, when they went from a category C to category A and B. And then also the other currencies around the world will be under the umbrella of the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC. And then our digital currencies. Remember, the lawsuit that was just settled between the SEC and Ripple, which, of course, Ripple is the world with via XRP, the world's reserve asset and the world's bridge currency that will allow and enable our commodities to move through the banking system digitally around the world, in order also to enable our exchanges on the digital platform of XRP. All this is under the umbrella of the SEC. Then we have, of course, the Department of the Treasury. This document has a comment period that ends October the 21st. There's a ton of things, folks, and if you've been following, a ton of regulations, legislation, and rules in October. After this date, Goldilocks says, this proposal can move on to legislative congressional approval and implementation. The Financial Data Transparency Act was passed by the federal government in December of 2022. The law seeks to improve the accessibility, transparency, and uniformity of financial data collected and reported by federal financial regulators. Well, we just mentioned all the federal financial regulators. So this, you got to realize, before now, because of bureaucracy, these federal agencies didn't have a way to really communicate and share data amongst each other. They didn't have the transparency amongst each other. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the SEC, for example, and the Department of Treasury. But now this is an act and a rule and a regulation whereby these agencies will and must communicate with each other via digital means. The FDTA is currently streamlining compliance processes and supports the development of new regulatory technologies. The FDTA establishes national data standards. This is a key word and a key term that you're hearing a lot more recently is standards. The FDTA establishes national data standards and open publication requirements for government entities such as the above that we mentioned. Many of these protocols are already in place, Goldilocks says. If you will take note within the above paragraphs, you will notice that it mentions new regulatory technologies. This is what we have been studying the last 3.5 years, the new digital technological system that will go into play within the new digital asset-based trading system, otherwise known as the quantum financial system. And Goldilocks shares the link to the Federal Register, whereby The Federal Register, if you want to click on it now or later, you will see the actual comment period for this particular act on October the 21st. The Federal Register is where rules, regulations are actually documented, final documentation into the books of the federal government. And here we have, it states the Federal Register, Financial Data Transparency Act Joint Data Standards, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Don't we hold currency? Isn't this a global currency reset that we are waiting upon on a new digital platform, which is the digital asset-based trading system? Asset-based is commodities, which of course this is the quantum financial system. This is several articles by Goldilocks this week showed new rules and regulations coming down in October to be documented in the Federal Register. We are witnessing, folks, the actual culmination of new regulations that are being implemented and onboarded into our books in the federal government in preparation for the quantum financial system and the new technologies and also rules and regulations that will be implemented. Of course, before we move on to the next, we have to have my man, my good brother from another mother, Jester. I know you probably had some insight on this as well, my good man.
And I had like a bunch of things to say, but you said them all.
No. No one heard me. You can go ahead and say it all again.
No, here's the thing. You're exactly right. I tell you what. I've often said the architecture is out there and it's all designed and whatnot. What you're seeing here is examples of it. Sometimes these things are technically complicated. And so I did a little quickie search on a couple of things as I was goofing around with this article. And so everybody, I bet you right now, nobody can tell me exactly what that article means. Or you probably could. You're not included. Or Goldilocks could. But what's the rule, everybody? Anybody know the rule? What's the rule that they're looking at? Anybody define the rule? Exactly. This is interesting because I want you guys to understand this. This seems like a small thing, but it's huge. The proposed rule is to establish data standards to promote interoperability of financial regulatory data across these agencies. There's a bunch of agencies involved here. So what you're seeing here is they don't talk to each other now, and they're developing a way to do that. Now, interoperability is the key word there, and it's defined as the ability of computer systems or software to exchange and make use of information interoperability between devices made by different manufacturers. Now, that could be a Mac talking to an IBM or something like that, but it also could extend to these agencies talking to each other. And because right now they don't have a common framework, and what you're seeing here is a new rule that's going to define the framework where all these people are talking together on one system, the QFS. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little definition. I don't know if anybody was really getting it, and I thought, well, let's help them a little bit.
Man, you broke it down in layman's terms. That was excellent. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand it myself, so I had to figure it out, Oh well, you know me. I'm gonna hunt and peck on things. So what they're doing here is they're going to be able to exchange information more efficiently. They're going to be able to converse more rapidly back and forth with whatever it is they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but all of this systematization with the QFS is part of the system. As it's developed, it's one piece, but it's an important piece. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
yep, absolutely.
Another piece of the puzzle, my friend. Another piece of the puzzle.
Yes, indeed. And you mentioned something. You mentioned a lot, but you mentioned a word that stuck out in my head was converse. It allows them to converse. And folks, what Jester just said, converse. Think of conversation. What do you need to converse? What do you need to have a conversation? And you need communication. There has to be a language, a common language to converse. And actually, we're going to get into that next with ISO 222. That is actually the language, the common language. For example, if someone speaks, if two different people speak two different languages, so one person speaks only English and another person only speaks, let's say, Spanish, and if they were to try to speak to each other in their native tongue, it would be difficult to converse, to exchange information. But what if they had Google Translate, some sort of technology and it's out there. We know the technology exists. Someone speaks English, you can speak into your phone, into the Google Translate app, and it speaks Spanish to the person who only speaks Spanish. So now there is a technology that exists to allow two people that speaks two different languages, in Jester's words, to converse. It allows them to now communicate. And communication, just like in a personal relationship, communication is the foundation to a successful relationship. Whether it's business or whether it's a personal relationship, it's communication. So we're going to go in. That is a great segue into the next article that Goldilocks shared, which touches on the conversing, the communication, the translation within the banking system to allow where you have the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency will be able to communicate with, let's say, the Commodities and Future Trade Commission. The Commodities and Future Trade Commission speaks French. The Office of the Comptroller speaks Russian. They don't communicate in the same language. But what ISO 222 does, it is a messaging system that allows those two departments to communicate. So you have let's say, for example, you have one currency that's called the US dollar. It speaks English. Let's say if you have the Iraqi dinar that speaks Arabic. How do we get these two different currencies to communicate with one another, to exchange information, exchange data, exchange transparency, exchange information? How do we get these two, this English currency and this Arabic currency, to converge and exchange not only data, but exchange from one currency into the other, from the dinar, the Arabic currency? How do we get it to translate and compute into the English language to converse, to convert? So when you go into the bank to exchange your 3 million dinar, there is a technology that enables that dinar to speak to the U.S. banking system and translate and convert it into US dollars, to convert that 3 million dinar into the denomination of US dollars for you. Let's talk about ISO 222. Goldilocks shares the Bank of International Settlements ISO 222 announcement. Folks, for those that may not know, the Bank of International Settlements is a global agency. Think of all of the banks around the world, all the central banks around the world. It does not matter what central bank it is. With any currency that you hold or you don't hold, it doesn't matter. The central banks for those currencies, the Bank of International Settlements is the central bank of all central banks. So the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS Innovation Hub, ISO 222 data analytics platform is currently in development. It is the Project Keystone initiative that is supporting the growing adoption of ISO 222 standards in payment systems worldwide. Now, folks, when you hear that it's currently in development, you have to understand, and Goldilocks is going to share it here in a little bit, 93% of the banks around the world have already adopted these standards, okay? Oh, here it is next. It's the next sentence. 93% of payment system operators have already implemented ISO 222, or they are working on implementing it in their systems. November the 19th, 2023, all banks in the United States migrated to the ISO 222 standards. It was mandatory. In the other room, at the time when this went live, we shared the I was going to say bank screen. You actually probably can say it's a bank screen. No, get that bank screen talk out of your mind with the guru foo-foo talk. But the actual bank screen showing the banks that migrated to the ISO 222 standards on November the 19th. All the major banks and other banks within the United States, by law, they had to, and they did. And then Europe, I believe it was in March of this year, the majority, if not all Europe did, but 93%. As you can see, Goldilocks says, many central banks are already in process of adopting this protocol, which is ISO 222, of real-time gross settlement messaging system. Think of communication. Think of Google Translate, of translating currencies amongst each other that speak different languages. 2 modules will be developed. One handles the data structure and storage requirements. The other handles the analytics surrounding the data provided. A data structure is designed and puts forth a readout, an understandable form between 2 parties for organizing, processing, retrieving, and storing data. So think of a readout, an understandable form between the dinar and the USD, the dong and the USD, whatever currency in the USD, so forth and so on. As the SWIFT community advances towards the November 2025 deadline to end the coexistence period with older MT formats, a focused effort is being made to prioritize the adoption of ISO 222 payment instruction messages. Also, don't forget, several months ago, Goldilocks shared the article with proof that the SWIFT system has migrated the ISO 222 messaging system. Here in the United States, Goldilocks says the FedWire migration to ISO 222 is expected to be done in March of 2025. Now, we're going to jump right into the next one real quick, Jester, then I'm going to come to you because they both tie into each other. Yes, the FedNow service is ISO 222 compliant, Goldilocks says. In July of 2023, folks, the Federal Reserve launched ISO 222 to define their message formats and flows for the FedNow service. This is why by, again, November the 19th of 2023, all of the banks in the U.S. migrated, because in July, the FedNow made sure that it was going to happen. ISO 222 is an international accepted messaging standard. It is rich in data utilizing the financial services industry for business areas like payments, securities, and foreign exchange. Do you all remember also in the other room where Goldilocks shared information on the FedNow and the importance of it and how it connects banks from around the world and the messaging? So here we have the culmination of that. And then Jester shared also the list. It was a link to the FedNow, to different banks that had already upgraded to the FedNow service. And yes, all banks in the U.S., folks. So don't worry. Don't think, oh my God, is my bank not on the list? Relax. Don't worry. Jester, what you got, young man?
There was I got curious about this because I was thinking to myself, it's interesting that they're bringing this thing online, but then I got really curious about who was included. Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, it's different from what I thought. Okay. I thought this would be leaning towards the West, but it does not. The first thing I checked out is Russia on this list, because I thought they're pretty big, and in the big scheme of things, moving forward, they're going to be a player. China's going to be a player. I mean, the BRICS is going to be a player. That's just all there is to it. So I wondered where they piled in on this. Well, see, this is a weird statement right here. Russia is a pioneer in the implementation of ISO 222 messaging as the foundation of a payment and securities markets infrastructure that meets the highest international standards. That's crazy, isn't it? Would you have predicted that?
No, I didn't know that. That's huge right there. I didn't know that. I'm glad you. Yeah. And,
so
yeah, that's
I was flipping out. I was flipping out. So I said, well, there's got to be a list of these countries somewhere. Guess what? It's on the ISO 222 site. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a bunch. Okay. Austria, Canada, China, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Japan, Korea, MasterCard. Wait a minute. MasterCard?
I love it. Yes.
Okay. Well, Visa's on there too. So there you go. Mm-hmm. This is some crazy stuff, I'm telling you. Singapore, South Africa, all the BRICS countries are on here, by the way, except India. India must be imploding off the BRICS or something, because I don't get what they're doing. But anyway, that's another story altogether. I don't. It's like somebody's got somebody's picture of somebody playing golf with Satan or something. I don't know over there in India. So I don't know what India's doing. They're imploding.
See, but it's the payment systems that will interlink India into all of this through the UPI, the universal payment.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to be left out, but I don't understand why they're not participating heavily. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm, I mean, there's countries on here you wouldn't think, like Korea and of course, the EU is heavily represented. Right. South Africa, I already said that. Sweden, Switzerland, the Netherlands, United Kingdom. Now here's where it gets really strange. The BIS, which got to figure they got to be on it at some point in time, right? The CFTC. We were talking about that. So not only is this thing pulling together in a way, now we got overlapping data points. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's right.
The European Central Bank. That's kind of wild. I mean, there's a bunch of them on here. Mm-hmm. The card still cracks me up. And I don't know where some of them are. Some of them are central banks of places I don't know where they are. I don't know what the Moha Loop Foundation is, but oh well. I bet you wouldn't have figured this one, RippleNet.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
This is wild.
Yeah.
And of course, the SWIFT, of course. And I'm going to flip this over to you. You decide what to do with it, okay? I'll give you this is just a page off the ISO 222 site.
Right.
that about the member entities and who participate in this thing. But it was a lot wider than I thought it was. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead if you want to continue.
This time, that was all I was going with on that.
I'm so glad you
take it a step further, and that's okay with me.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad because what you shared, like with MasterCard and Visa and RippleNet and Russia and all, that's another perfect segue, because on the second link that Goldilocks is sharing, folks, from FedNow, I would love for you all to click on it. We're gonna touch on something, and it brings home what Jester just shared with us all. All right, and I have some help. I have a beautiful volunteer that's going to help me on this next. PR, are you here? Are you here? Yes, that's our buddy Jester. PR,
I got you.
PR. If you can raise your hand, she's gonna help us out, Jester. On there she is.
Cool.
PR, how you doing, young lady? She's gonna read something for us, brother.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing?
You like that? Gosh darn it.
How are you, Jester? Are you going to give me?
Follow the drip. Follow the drip. We're doing well. We're doing well. Thank you, young lady.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here. Happy.
Yes. So, Jester, what she's going to do, folks, what I'm going to do, if you click that link, that last one that is in the room, and it's right from the FedNow.org. This is what I'm going to share, and what PR is going to help me to share actually confirms everything that, in some of the parts, and not everything, but some specific parts, but all the parts of what Jester just shared with us. Okay, so it says, if you click on the link, what is ISO 20022 and why does it matter? So what is it and why does it matter? I'm going to rephrase that question. What is ISO 222 and why does it matter to our exchanges? All right, here we go. Standards are so integrated into our world, it's easy to forget they exist. Yet it's standards that allow you to call or text anyone, even if they have a different type of phone or carrier than you, or withdraw cash from an ATM not owned by the financial institution that issued your card. Didn't Jester just mention MasterCard and Visa?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, right, PR?
Yes, he did. Amazing.
He also mentioned, I believe, cell phones or communication where you have carriers that communicate. Folks, we're using the ISO standards and we don't even know it. This is a more robust upgrade to the ISO standards, excuse me, that allow the financial institutions now, here's the upgrade, that allows the financial institutions to communicate. In the financial services industry, messaging standards are what make it possible for systems and networks around the world to communicate with each other. The financial services industry's need for a common language is what the lead Geneva-based, think Geneva, Switzerland. This is where the ISO is from. What the lead Geneva-based International Organization for Standardization to launch its ISO, which is in the International Organization for Standardization, pronounced ISO 20022 messaging standard. It launched in 2004. Within the industry, the ISO 222 messaging standard is used for business areas such as PR. Help us out, please. What are some of these industry standards that ISO is used for businesses?
Here we are. So payments.
So here we go, folks. Payments. Think when you make a payment electronically and also transact electronically, of course. What's next?
Securities.
So securities, think securities. Now, what are securities? These are instruments. Trading in the global banking in the global financial system is part of securities, such as also what was registered as a security by the end of June, the dinar. What also was registered, because it went from a category C to a category A and B. Remember, Goldilocks shared this with us directly from the CBI, where the Central Bank of Iraq, via the dinar, reclassified the dinar. You remember, PR? Because you study, so I know you
Oh,
know.
yes, I do.
And they
And
reclassified the dinar from category C to A, B, and registered as a security. And as Goldilocks shared, all the other currencies will be registered as securities as well under the umbrella of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Think also we have Ripple via an XRP, and Jester just shared RippleNet, and Ripple just settled with the SEC on the lawsuit, the little kangaroo court lawsuit with the SEC. That's the Securities and Exchange Commission. ISO 222. What's next, PR?
trade services.
Trade services, folks. When countries trade goods and services across the borders, this is why Goldilocks coined the phrase and says, watch the water. So trade amongst countries of goods and services, now electronically, like in Iraq, through their borders, at their ports, where they have completed phase 1 of the digital transformation, which is the automated system under the umbrella of the United Nations. Phase 2 of that system will be completed in September on the ports of Iraq. Trade, for countries to trade amongst each other. They will no longer be trading manually, exchanging by hand at the ports, but digital trade services, all ISO 222. What's next, PR? Cards. Did Jester just not share with us about MasterCard and Visa?
Yes, he did.
And then last but certainly not least,
Foreign exchange.
I'm not sure if you have such a beautiful French accent. I'm not sure if everyone understands. Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Foreign exchange.
Foreign
exchange.
This is the common language the financial services industry needs for a common language is what led the Geneva-based ISO 222. So the common language for
the foreign exchange
is ISO 222. So when you think of XRP and the other ISO compliant digital currencies, it's bigger than what we realize. It's bigger than what you know. This information that's being shared by Goldilocks and Jester and what we're presenting to you tonight, you must understand this is not the details that you will get on any other platform. And I don't like to say things like that, but it's just the truth. I'm not belittling or downplaying other rooms or anywhere, gurus, none. I'm not doing that. I'm just speaking the truth. Where you are being provided the actual details to show us. See, some people just want to know date rate. I just want to know when am I going to exchange? When is it going to happen? That's all I want to know. Some people want to know the details so that they can have longevity, peace of mind, in the process, and a longevity afterwards to know what they've gotten involved with. And also they can take advantage now having the details, they can take advantage of future investments to possibly make more money on their investments, more money on their return, more money on paper currencies and digital currencies with knowing these details, because there are other investment opportunities, folks, knowing this information that can give you greater returns than dinar or dong or any currency you have, because there's a boatload of knowledge and details in all of this that we're sharing with you to understand ISO. And there's different coins. There's different pennies on the dollars, where you have opportunities to get in on investments less than what you pay for dinar or dong or any other paper currency because of ISO 222. One last time, PR, if you don't mind, can you just do a recap and summary
Yeah.
of all of them, if you don't mind, from payments all the way down to foreign currency? If you can do that, please.
Of course. So number one, payments, securities, trade services, cards, and last but not least, foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange. Thank you. So what is thank you in French?
Merci. Merci.
Merci.
Merci.
There we go. Merci. Got it. Thank you. Merci.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. I will follow
All right.
and
You too.
study the rest with you.
Likewise.
Good night, everyone.
Likewise.
Good night.
Thank you. Merci. Now, I'm going to continue because this is very important information that's remaining here that I'm going to share. Then we're going to go on to the next one and get into Q&A. Financial services organizations in more than 70 countries currently use ISO 222 standard, including the Clearinghouse's RTP network, which Goldilocks shared before, which has used the standard since the payment platform launched in 2017. And also the clearinghouses, the clearinghouse, which is CHIPS, the Clearinghouse Interbank Payment System, CHIPS, is actually connected to the U.S. Department of Treasury. And they're planning to roll out the ISO standard across their systems. And additionally, the FedWire, I skipped this. Additionally, the FedWire, the Federal Reserve's FedWire Funds Services and the Clearinghouse Interbank Payment Systems are planning to roll out the ISO 2022 standards across their systems. Actually, folks, it's already been done. The benefits. What are the benefits of ISO 222? Messages are vital to instant payments. When you hear payments, think of exchanges. So I'm going to read that again. ISO 222 messaging services are vital to instant exchanges and play an important role in the overall modernization of payment processes. In other words, important role in the overall modernization of the QFS. Specifically, they provide a structured and data-rich common language that is readily exchanged among corporates and banking systems. This capability is foundational for innovations like moving from end-of-day batch file processing to real-time payment processing. What that means, because before, ladies and gentlemen, not only for large transactions, for small transactions, it would take 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 days for the transaction to be settled from one bank to the next. This allows, so instead of in a day, this is instant. For corporates and financial institutions alike, broad adoption of the ISO format will lead to operational efficiency, including the ability to exchange detailed remittances, so that's transactions, information along with customer payment. Your exchange is a payment. Support for straight-through processing and the reduction in errors and the need for manual processing steps. I'm going to read the last part again. And a reduction in errors and the need for manual human manipulation processing. So the ISO eliminates the errors from humans being involved in the completion of transactions. Broad industry adoption of the ISO messaging. This is under the FedNow standard and benefits is highly structured data made it the logical choice for the FedNow service offsite, the Federal Reserve's instant payments infrastructure. And for those that may be saying to yourself, oh my God, it's talked about the Federal Reserve. Isn't that the cabal? Isn't that the dark blood? We are now in the light, folks. The Federal Reserve is under the U.S. Department of Treasury, Donald Trump. And for those that know, we shared that fact in the proof. When President Trump was in office in 2017, he rolled the Federal Reserve under the U.S. Department of Treasury. So don't be triggered by Federal Reserve and that stop you from understanding and comprehending the importance of FedNow. All right. Now we are going to, I hope that that was explained to you all in a way that you understood. Now we're going to jump right into, in fact, let me go ahead and just drop both of these in the room. Oh, Jester, did you want to add anything further that we went over that last part, or you're good?
That was fun. I had nothing to add to that, to be honest with you.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right. And we're going to do that. I mean, before I... Oh, and for those that... Let me drop this in the room. For those that probably didn't read along. If you didn't read along, I'm going to share what a PR helped me with in the room on payment, securities, trade services, cards, and foreign exchange. And then we're going to drop the last one into the room here on the last two that we are going to discuss, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. Folks, let's get some questions in your head, in your mind, that you will be ready to ask so that we can answer them for you. Next, we're going to talk about Vietnam. The central banks of Vietnam and China just signed a memorandum of understanding. So, folks, when you think of the central banks, think of their currencies, the dong and the Chinese yuan. This took place in Beijing, Goldilocks shares. They decided to trade between themselves. So here we have the decision for Vietnam and China to trade amongst each other. They decided to trade between themselves in local currency settlement. So they decided to trade in the dong and the Chinese yuan, currency swaps, remember, two-way communication, and cross-border payment connectivity. The signing took place during a 3-day visit of the Vietnamese president to land when he went to China. Cooperation agreements in mutual connectivity, industry, customs inspections were also signed during this meeting. This will place more currency demand upon the Vietnamese dong as well. The increase in demand will begin placing price pressures on the dong's value. Folks, remember last month where people were a little disappointed that the United States didn't upgrade Vietnam's economy to become a market economy? And then we shared that not too much of a big deal. Why? Because 72 other countries around the world has already recognized that Vietnam as a market economy. Guess what? China was one of them. So here we have the signing of an agreement between these two countries. Think supply and demand. See, most people in dinar land have been improperly informed that there was going to be a flip of the switch and there was going to be a certain rate on certain currencies. It doesn't work that way in the finance world. So here we have supply and demand. It's supply and demand on every currency. It's the demand of the dinar in the global marketplace that will put price pressures on it to raise. It's the demand of the dong. It's the demand of every currency. So here we have a contract, an agreement between China and Vietnam. Now, This is huge. Remember, I should have thought of this before, and I just remembered it now. And now it just came to my mind, where the largest GDP growth in the world, number one country and number two country just signed an agreement. The number one country is China, the largest GDP growth percentage. And I'm going to, and I hope I'm fast in doing this because you all, some of you will remember this, and this, oh, boom, here it is. And this will be new for some of you. Right in the room, I just dropped it. This is very relevant. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Here we have the total GDP growth between 1991 and 2021. Now, folks, the GDP growth is large in part what determines a mechanism for the value on a country's currency to determine what their true value is. And GDP growth comes from supply and demand of goods and services traded around the world and their currency. Look at number one at the very bottom of that graph I just showed is China. From 1991 to 2021, their GDP growth has been 4,526%. The number two country right behind China is Vietnam, 3,709%. Look at where the U.S. is. A little measly 279% growth. Now, that's not bad. It's not shabby, but it's not 3,709% like Vietnam. So we have the top two countries in the world in GDP growth. Think about it, folks. And most of those countries on this list with large GDP growth, Brazil, BRICS. India, BRICS. South Africa, Russia, BRICS. This is huge. Russia, BRICS. Vietnam and China, not even BRICS. They got the largest GDP growth. Just imagine if Vietnam, well, China, of course, is BRICS. Just imagine if Vietnam joins the BRICS. Just imagine. That's all I'm saying. Just imagine. Now, Jester, you and I had a discussion about this earlier. I would love for people to hear your take on this.
Okay, excuse me. Well, as we talked, I mean, when you see these kinds of things happening, and of course I did some other research and found out where things have gone before, and so this is not the first one. I mean, there's a bunch of information out here on the ones that are happening or have happened before. I mean, it's been going on for some years now, some 10 years actually. They've got Argentina, Belarus, Brazil, Canada, European Union, Hong Kong. That's a weird one, right? Iceland, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, and the United Kingdom, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, and wherever the hell that is. Anyway, over there by Russia, I would guess. Russia's already in here. It's not listed on this list, though. It comes in a little bit later. So it's interesting enough that the currency swap capability between Russia and China has been going on for some long time. And that's been going on for 13 years. China has been Russia's largest trading partner for 13 straight years. Now, that's crazy, huh? I didn't know that. All right.
That's news.
So this is what happens when I get into this crap, is I find more crap that I don't. Let's throw that one on the wall, too. See if that's just it all. Anyway, so, Putin's pushing this Moscow, Beijing trade in the Chinese Northeast. And so here comes Vietnam. It looks like this is a random data point, but it's not. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is a part of the plan that we've been talking about all along. Mm-hmm. And I believe, that for whatever reason, and I don't know why that would be. I mean, this would be an easy thing to do with people with unlimited resources, the way they've got I mean, if you and I can figure it out, so can they. I mean, it's not like this is a random thing. This is all being done as part of a plan because it doesn't make sense any other way. I mean, why would they do it that way, right? Why would they all this ISO, all this, getting the translation right, getting all the data right, and I mean, this is all part of the plan. I think that's part of it too. I think Vietnam, the fact that the U.S. didn't come out and make them a market economy.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, well, we talked about this earlier today too. I think I don't know. I can't remember who came up with what because, quite frankly, we were in a zone and
exactly.
Having a really good time with you. So, the fact of the matter is that the reason I think that the U.S. didn't do that is to hold back and not confuse the issue. So, I don't know.
Yep. That's exactly what Goldilocks was sharing with me. Is it makes sense why the United States now did not upgrade Vietnam to a market economy, knowing that this was coming down the pipe with China, and with every country being on a level playing field, it's in Vietnam's best interest for the United States not to upgrade them to a market economy because every country they'll be utilizing their own currency anyway instead of utilizing the U.S. dollar for trade, where they can use the dong instead. Therefore providing the price pressure and the strength on the demand for the dong in the global marketplace instead of Vietnam being behoovant to the United States, with the United States deeming them a market economy and being forced to use U.S. dollars instead, not giving the strength to the dong that they want.
It's like they're forcing them to go do the right thing and use their own currency.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
right.
like, okay, it's a backhanded compliment in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I hope, folks, that you're picking up what we're putting down, and because the message is there, it's clear. Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, folks, we're going to jump right into Iraq, and this we kind of touched on this in the beginning of the call with the beautiful D, and in regards to the conversation that she and Goldilocks had in relation to Iraq coming to the United States. The delegation for the Central Bank of Iraq travels to the United States of America to resume negotiations on the banking sector. A source familiar with Economy News told Economy News that a delegation from the Central Bank of Iraq will start its negotiations in the U.S. on Monday, August the 26th, here in America. He added the central bank has moved to sign a contract with Oliver Wyman International. It's an international auditing firm, consulting firm, to present a plan on reforming the private banking sector within the next 6 months. He pointed out the plan proposed to be submitted includes the merger of some banks or the cancellation of the license of some banks. This is within Iraq, folks. And also there are going to be some meetings with banks, and Dee touched on this earlier, that is not mentioned or talked about in this article. So one thing I recall very well in the world of banking and geopolitics, there are meetings, there are public meetings, and there are private meetings.
Right.
So you know that very well, Justin. Those private ones they'll publicize the public ones, but they don't want you to know about the private ones. And Dee is aware of those meetings. Just like she said, the list of those banks haven't been given to her just as of yet. But I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that last article or not. Just if not, we can jump right into Q&A. It's up to you.
I think I don't really know what it's about yet. We'll figure it out here in a week, I guess.
Yes, sir. All right. So you ready for some Q&A?
I am.
All right. Folks, let's get you I know last week I said I want at least 5 questions, and it worked. Let's see if we can get 5 this call. Go, feel free to raise your hand. We will come right on to you.
I think it was all right.
Yeah. All right, folks. Who has a question for a question? All this jam-packed information, communication that we shared with you all tonight. I know, unless we did so good, no one has questions. I don't know if we did that so well. All right. I wish I could identify the trolls in the room with those fake names that I would ask them to raise their hand and question, but they won't. They won't want us to hear their voices. Hip. You can feel free to unmute.
The floggings will continue until morale improves.
Nope. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. First of all, you've got a great voice.
Thank you.
First time I've listened to this chat. I've been on it for a few months, but first time listening in. My brain has just exploded this evening because there's so much information that I did not know. I appreciate it. And do you do this every Saturday night?
Every Saturday, Jester and myself are here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we break down the articles by Goldilocks and give you all some inside information as well, coming from Jester and his contacts at the U.S. Treasury.
Oh, fantastic. So, okay, I guess the elephant in the room. Are we getting close?
We actually have a member here by the name of Elephant in the Room. We actually do. Now, let me ask you a question. How did you hear about our room?
I kept seeing these little clips from Goldilocks, and I would read them, and then I joined the group.
Wow. Well, first, I want to welcome you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And what is it that, like you said, your head was exploding? What stood out to you the most that really baffled you?
The ISO 200, whatever that is.
22. You got it. Mm-hmm.
I was not sure what the heck that was about. And my son was telling me certain things, and he's so smart. He goes way over my head. And when you have a child telling you something, it's kind of hard to say, oh, okay. But yeah, I'm glad I listened in, because I did not know what that meant with going around worldwide. I just did not know it was. I thought our little box here in the United States.
Oh, okay. Because you've seen it. You've obviously seen it before by following Goldilocks.
Yes.
You've seen Goldilocks referencing it before, but now you have a broader understanding of what it means and how it connects the whole entire banking system around the world, and how it relates, and how now you can see it's the translator, the communication, the converging of languages within the banking system from one currency to the next. You see that now.
Yes, because with XRP, my son was going through the whole thing, but this ISO, he never said what it was, but he would talk about it. But he was telling me.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, it sounds like you might be able to go back to your son, and the two of you are going to have such an amazing conversation about this. You might even teach him a thing or two, because he probably didn't know some of the things you learned tonight about ISO 222.
Probably. And I look forward to having that conversation with him. Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure you have a great relationship with him, but that bond is going to be even greater now that you guys can speak a common language. You know, it's like if he was into video games and you're not, and then all of a sudden you do get into video games. Yeah. The two of you can have some bond. Now, this is going to be a bonding moment for the two of you.
I agree. And I appreciate all what you're doing and teaching us and getting this information in our hands so we can understand what is going on with the next step with our world.
Yes, ma'am. And we're in the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we are available to answer any questions that you have on what Goldilocks shares. And then Saturdays, of course, we're here. And we look forward to you in the room. And, of course, definitely next Saturday.
Well, thank you. And I am not a troll.
I know for sure you're not. Are you subscribed to the YouTube channel, the Goldilocks?
I don't do YouTube. I don't, but I
Okay.
can. I mean, it's not that I can't, but I can. There's just so much information out there. I do have to stay away from my computer or my phone sometime.
The reason why I asked is because this call is recorded.
Oh, okay.
And so you'll be able to see it. It'll be shared. We'll provide the link. It'll be shared, and you can watch it on YouTube.
All right, I appreciate it.
Share it with your son as well. I'm sure he's on YouTube.
Yeah, he is.
All right, thank you, Hip,
Well,
and thank you for your questions.
You bet. You have a good week.
All right, you too.
Yep.
All right, folks. Bye-bye. Next question. Feel free to raise your hand. That's so, Jester, that is so awesome that she got and Hip, the link to the YouTube channel was just shared into the room. Please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. So as soon as this recording is available, you'll get a notification, Hip. But
Right.
Jester, isn't that amazing how the education, the few minutes that we took to explain it tonight, how anyone can get it, and it makes a world of difference.
Oh yeah. Well, they're going to get 1% of it off this call because we had so many calls before that covered so many other things. I mean, this is a big picture, guys. This is a huge jigsaw puzzle, and every week's a new piece, and there's so much background here. I mean, I don't know how you'd ever go about documenting it all, Freedom. I really don't.
Yeah. It's a maze. It's a rabbit hole for sure. But it's not like so much that people, if they're paying attention, they can start picking up certain things, because like with Hip, now that she has a better understanding, I should say, of what ISO is, now the mind opens to receive more information that it wasn't ready to receive before.
True.
So then it's amazing. I love it. All right. And I saw, Miss Priss, you can unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, young lady. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Thank you.
Am I whispering?
Yeah, I'm just teasing.
My question is, there was a country that's not currently part of BRICS that was invited to their forum that they're going to be holding this fall.
Mm-hmm.
Which country was that? Was it Vietnam or Venezuela?
I do know Vietnam is going to.
I know they have applied.
Submit it. Yeah, they're going to submit an invitation to join, from what I understand. Vietnam.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But I know they had invited.
You mean from before? From
Yeah. They had invited a country that wasn't included in them to join them this fall at the summit that they're having.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking it was Vietnam.
Okay. Now, are you now, just so I understand, are you referring to that they were invited before, like last October?
Well, it's sometime this past year. Sometime.
Okay.
It's not been that many months back.
I think you're referring to Saudi Arabia. You might be referring to Saudi Arabia.
It was a country whose currency I hold.
Oh, okay. So then it might be Venezuela then, because I do know. Yeah, there was some talks of Venezuela, as well, joining. Yes.
Okay. I could not remember if it was Vietnam or Venezuela. I knew one had been invited,
Actually,
even though
well,
they weren't part of it. And after Vietnam was turned down to be upgraded to a market economy, they did apply for BRICS, correct?
well, they had submitted, the way it works. They had actually, before the U.S. didn't upgrade them to a market economy, they had expressed interest of submitting an application to BRICS beforehand. Before that.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was already in the works. That was already in the works before.
Okay. So is there any possibility of, I know that BRICS has now stopped letting anybody else in. Would that keep Vietnam from joining them until they open it back up, since they had already applied?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question, because this is a great opportunity for me to sort of educate people on how the BRICS process works. What it is that the BRICS is actually formally it's by invitation only, but a country has to submit an application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I see. Okay, I see that elephant in the room. So a country has to submit an application. I'm gonna just use this. That's step one. Okay, so follow me.
Right.
Step one, a country submits an application.
Mm-hmm.
Step two, the BRICS can accept the application and invite that country to begin the process to join.
Okay.
So it's not like an automatic acceptance. So let's use Vietnam, for example. Vietnam submits an application before October saying, hey, BRICS, I want to join. I want to be a part of the club. I want to be in. Please let us in. October comes. And so then at the summit, the BRICS at the summit will say, okay, you know what, Vietnam? We think we see you meet the possible standards and requirements, and there's certain requirements that a country must meet before joining.
Right.
They may say, Vietnam, you may meet the requirements, but just in case, we will invite you to submit the formal application to join. Or they may say, you know what? No, Vietnam, we're not going to invite you to join.
Right.
But
okay.
of course,
So that will come up in October.
That will come up in October, and then the way it works is by the following January is when the final countries that BRICS has accepted, they will announce if that country or countries were formally accepted by the following January. So, for example, Saudi Arabia, as of this past January, in other countries, Saudi Arabia still has to be formally accepted. When other countries that were invited last October, other countries were formally accepted. So does that make sense?
It does. You have definitely cleared up one of the many, many clouds in my head.
Mm-hmm.
that helps a lot. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right, you too. In fact, I'm gonna share this with you. Thanks, Elif. I'm gonna share this with you in the room. Miss Priss, if you can stay on real quick and
I'm not going anywhere.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna share this into the room. Okay, Elephant just shared. See, I think it was Hip. See, Hip, I told you there was an elephant in the room. So this is where Vietnam did apply to join. See, and this Miss Priss, I would like your participation. What does that say? Just in what does it say?
Vietnam to apply to join BRICS in 2024.
Now, see, Vietnam to apply
Yes.
to join. It's an application process. And she said it was posted in May 2024. So in May 2024, they will apply. So the misconception, especially in dinar land, when gurus get stuff, they try to over centralize stuff, and there's an actual process. So Vietnam to apply. So people here.
They've applied to be invited to apply.
There you go. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. You got it. You got it. That's how it works. So just because someone, says that they're going to apply doesn't mean that they will be approved. It's a formal just think of an elite group. I don't want to use this term, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind. Just think of a secret society. You can just apply to a secret society and get in because you applied.
Yeah.
You might have to give some blood. You might have to do some certain things. You know what I mean? So a country has to do certain things.
Thought. That's making me think of our government.
Yes. You're
starting to scare me.
Right. I don't know if they do all that, but it's a formal process. And I'm so glad you asked this, because it gives me an opportunity to help anyone listening to this call to really know the truth. When it's posted by certain sites, 50 countries to join BRICS, to apply for BRICS, that does not mean that they will be accepted. That doesn't mean that they're really going to apply. Right. Or 50, 60 countries to join BRICS. No. Don't fall for the foo-foo. It's an actual process where they submit an in writing application, say, hey, BRICS, we would like to join. And then BRICS goes through a formal process, and each country that wants to join BRICS, Miss Priss, they have to meet the requirements not only of BRICS, but they have to negotiate with every other BRICS nation, and those BRICS nations have to formally vote. So let's say BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and then now I believe it's Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the other countries, that they have to come together now as the BRICS, as the nations, and say, we're going to accept Vietnam or we're not. We're going to accept Iraq or not. It's a democratic process. A majority vote. They have to vote to accept such country in.
Well, that's much clearer. Thank you. You really laid that out very well. Awesome. I understand BRICS and getting into it much better now. Thank you. I can afford. I can afford a few more clouds in my head to be gone. Thank you for moving that way.
You and me both sometimes, I tell you. So we're the same boat. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Freedom.
All right. You're welcome. Jester, I heard you talk. Did you have something you wanted to?
No, I like it. It's good.
Okay. All right.
I think,
good.
You said something there that it puzzled me for a second, but there's no other way to say it. So, my thinking is that everybody's going to end up in the BRICS, but it's going to be, like you said, a process, Mm-hmm. And, of course, I don't know if the U.S. will ever get there, but the whole scenario around the BRICS, is about economic cooperation and challenging the U.S. basically for the dominance of the dollar.
Yeah.
And so you got to wonder, well, fine tightrope there, because you want to flip the U.S. off going into that. You might be, causing some other issues, but I don't think Vietnam's in that scenario at all. Quite frankly, I think they're, I think they can stand on their own 2 feet. I don't think they're in any.
Right. Right. I agree totally. Okay. Thank you. Okay, man. And then I see. Oh, so here's the folks. Here is the and I just dropped into the room. Here's the brief announcement of Monday that I was saying Goldilocks may post, and here it is. I dropped into the room. The new digital asset-based trading system platform, which is the QFS, has been approved for transition, with the beginning stages starting Monday. More on this Monday morning. So there it is. That's what I kind of touched on earlier, that Goldilocks may share. Okay, there you go. All right, folks. Let's see. Feel free to raise your hand. You have a question, we will come right on to you. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Now I know. Did we do that good of a job, Jester, that we don't have no more questions?
Don't be scared, people.
Joy of 5D. You can unmute. I love that name.
Yeah, hi. I just have a quick question. You mentioned something about having a YouTube channel. Can you tell us the name of that channel, please?
Sure, yes, ma'am. Actually, in the room here, I'm going to repost. It's right at should be at the bottom. It's going to drop right there. Can you see in the room right now, Joy of 5D?
Let me check.
It was just posted. It's Goldilocks Daily News, Global Banking News. You see it right at
yeah, I see it. Okay.
Yep, that's the channel
So
there.
Okay, that's the link. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Or is that it? Joy in 5D. Okay, that's it. All right. And then Dee Dee, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
I want to hear from
Oh,
Tickety.
guys, we found you.
Hey, what'd you say, Jester?
You were missing. Well, I was missing y'all. I was on the Seeds of Wisdom, and y'all kind of went away, but I finally found you.
Yes.
It's
Mhm.
CD
Went away.
and my husband Dale. He normally does the talking.
Yes, I remember you now. You and your husband were participated on a call before.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and I thought we've been around for a long time. I've been on a spiritual journey, and I'm the poster child for everything that you said not to do. I did, but that was prior to you saying not to do it, because I've been on this journey for a long time.
Gotcha.
I have been felt by the Holy Spirit. I was told not to tell anybody about this. I told everybody I knew. And when they wouldn't buy, I bought for people to give to them. And my husband has been on a journey with me. And our dilemma is this. We've always been told not to let your currency out of sight. To make sure they have a Delarue machine there, and that let them go ahead and authenticate it right there in front of you. I cannot find a bank that has a Delarue machine. I have several bank stories, which they have told me that this is real. The first person I went to was a bank that the girl opened up my account 40 years ago. Her brother was in our wedding. She knew nothing about it. I was in the bank because when I gave the currency away, because I was told that the serial number was registered to my husband, I wanted to go and have it notarized that I was giving it to the person. So when they went in, they wouldn't have proof that they purchased it, but proof that it was a gift. And she questioned me because a lot of people were coming in and doing that. She knew nothing about what I was talking about. When it came time for me to retire, I went to another bank. And it just so happened that she started to mention that they were now a wealth management and they had a team that I might want to, invest with in my retirement. So I just came out and I said, you know what, I'm going to ask you. I said, what do you know about foreign currencies? She says, what currencies are we talking about? I told her which ones. because I have the Zim notes, the Iraqi dinar, the Bolivar, the Vietnamese dong. She told me, she says that a lot of people think that's a scam. I didn't know at the time. I was talking to the vice president of the bank. I said, I don't think so, because Jamie Dimon is over in Iraq and he's building banks over there. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said, we're just waiting to get notification to pull the trigger. So that was my first, I felt finally someone knows what I'm talking about. My husband and I had some problems with some lost funds, which makes me a little leery about this quantum system, because I rented a car and with them mistakenly putting a debit card for a credit card, we lost some funds and nobody can find our money. So I was stuck in a bank a couple of weeks ago for 6 hours. Went up to go to the bathroom, and then a man from the wealth manager came out of his glass office cubicle to unlock the bathroom door for me because it had a combination on it. And I said, "You're not part of Chase Bank. You're JP Morgan." And he goes, "I am." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'm just going to ask you about," and he goes, "the Iraqi dinar." I said, "God must have me in this bank for 6 hours for a reason." He
Yeah,
told me we were
thank
on the
God,
same page.
thank God you had to go to the bathroom. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was telling him, "What did you think I'm going to do? Steal your toilet paper and clean the door?" I said, "God, you must have me here for a reason." And I asked him, "Do you have the Delarue machine?" He says, "No, but we will take your currency, we will put it in an account, and we'll send it off." But I was told that that's a no-no. So how do you feel about that?
Okay, glad you asked. So, well, first off, would like to say, welcome home.
Thank you.
I remember you very, very well. It was if I recall, it might have even been two calls that I remember
Yes.
you've. And my memory kind of comes and goes, but I do remember you and Dale. I remember so well because the way I computed you was with Dale, like I, as a couple. So that's how I remember, because most people are by themselves on the calls. But welcome home. I'm glad you found us, and we're glad that you're here. Are you a member of Jester's Place as well?
No, my husband is.
Okay.
This has been a long journey. I feel
Right.
like I started out on first base and now I'm coming into the home plate. I'm coming into
There you
second.
go. There you go. There you go. And
What started as purchasing, the Iraqi dinar. I went from that to the spiritual journey on, okay, this is other currencies backed by their assets, to this is a whole banking system being changed.
That's
And
right.
I have been on a ride that I feel so blessed that the Lord has
Amen.
opened my eyes and showed. 8 years ago, people thought I was crazy.
No, you're
Excuse
fine.
me.
And you're fine. And a lot of us have gone through. In fact, we were talking about that the other day, where a lot of family members and friends really think that we're crazy.
I was on that call, but I was too
you were on that
to talk.
Oh,
With
so words.
Anastasia, I have
Yes.
so many stories that I could tell y'all personally, but I just feel like, when the people were saying that they've been attacked or their health, and she was telling them, how to, you need to manifest things. I do believe that there is also us being attacked because they know the good that we're going to do and that we're trying to be stopped.
That's true. That's very true. Two things. Number
But
one,
back to my question.
I'm gonna get to you. I was just about
No,
to get to your question. First, I
okay.
just dropped Jester's link into the room. Feel free to join his room as well, just so you don't miss. All right, that's one. Two, Delarue. Yeah, and I think I know a lot of what the gurus have said, whether good or bad. A lot of them don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know what they're saying. But the Delarue machine, they blew that up to be something so bigger than what it really is. Hold on one second. 1 second. In regards to the Delarue machines, like the gentleman told you, there are certain banks that, of course, they already do currency exchanges now. Just follow me. Follow me. This is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why we were educating people, and you'll recall this, to establish a relationship at a banking location that has a wealth manager and currently does foreign currency exchanges. Reason being is because this is something that they already do. It's a normal business practice. So they already have the means, the practice, the business structure, the wherewithal to exchange currency. A Delarue machine, is it necessary? It was in the old financial system.
Okay.
Pre new digital trading system, aka the quantum financial system, where what you just stated when you were at the bathroom door with the gentleman from the wealth management department that came and opened the door with the keypad for you. Another member, several members have the same story as you, where they were informed by the bank that because they currently do currency exchanges, that they will deposit the funds. They can exchange their currency and the funds will be deposited into their checking account.
Yes, that's what I was told, and then it would be verified.
And it would be verified. Go ahead.
But I was afraid, well, what if they say, well, it was counterfeit? It's gone. So
I'm so glad you brought this up, Dee Dee, because I believe it was yesterday or even the day before, where no, it was yesterday. It was I believe it was yesterday. I'm sorry, my memory kind of goes. Where there is a check and balance and a paper trail for every currency that's been bought or sold. So when you go into exchange your currency, they know, and this is one of the reasons why, and now it comes to me, why Goldilocks provided the article and the information from the IRS on the taxes for the original price of an asset, meaning that there is a track. They actually know when you go in there with your currency, they're going to know, even if someone was gifted, they know where that currency was bought, the original sale of that currency based on the serial number. So
yes.
if someone purchased currency from a bank, if they purchased it from a dealer online, a kiosk at an airport, or a mall, wherever that currency was purchased, the U.S. Treasury Department knows exactly where it came from, who bought it, who sold it.
Well, my husband and I have given to 140 people, and I have been a good steward of all the calls because a lot of these people don't even know what I've given them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I have to be on top of it. It has been a very long journey, but it's been, I feel that it comes with a lot of responsibility. And I just have a lot of people that I need to bring over the finish line. And I can't thank you all so much for all the information that you provide, the time, the effort. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. We appreciate that. I tell you, I'm honored to share this platform. I'm blessed to be able to speak to Goldilocks every day. I'm blessed that Wiley is in our room, and so fortunate and blessed that the young man on this call tonight I heard his voice 12, 13 years ago, and he was the only one that I heard that was telling the truth when everyone else was blowing smoke up our whats, and that was Jester. And so it's an honor, and we do this thanklessly but selflessly as a service. We're doing what God has set us out to do. I know I speak for myself, but I know Jester probably feels the same way, And so did I answer your question on the Delarue? I want to make sure I don't want to go on without making sure that I give you the clarity on that. Did we lose you, Dee Dee? Oh, no, Dee Dee, you're muted. You can unmute.
I unmute myself.
Oh, okay.
I'm 65. Bear with me.
That's all right.
I wanted to know what you thought about the Zimbabwe note. I know that it's not a currency, that it's a note, but the Holy Spirit told me that that's what's going to fund my foundation. So I just wanted to know what you thought about it.
I never questioned the Holy Spirit, but this is the first time I'm going to question the Holy Spirit. Okay. Because, all right, and I'm not, I should rephrase, I'm not questioning the Holy Spirit. I'm questioning the interpretation of it, because the Zimbabwe, it's a demonetized note. They even have a new currency, not bond note, but a currency that correct. And it has nothing to do with the Zimbabwe, the bond. And Jester has some very good, poignant information, like straightforward points on that. Jester, can you share? Or you? I don't know if you're available just yet. If not, then I'll continue. But no, hold on to it. I'm not going to say, put it in the fireplace and use it for to light your fireplace. I'm not going to say that, but hold on to it. But you've diversified in currencies, and that's where and glad you mentioned this also. I believe the Holy Spirit utilized even a lot of gurus to get information out to people. And what they decided to do with the information, good, bad, or indifferent, fake news or real news, it still benefited people to get to home plate, like you said, coming around to home plate. You were out there getting all this information that wasn't accurate, but you're at the point where now you can receive real facts or information that you can vet and prove, rounding third base on your way home. The currencies that you have is what you need to get to home plate. Okay. Have the Zim on deck just in case it has a chance to get up to bat.
Well, I wasn't sure, so I bought enough of everything to make sure that I can do exactly what my Heavenly Father wants me to do.
You'll still be able to do some of those humanitarian projects with the currencies that you hold. And did you listen to the call yesterday with Wiley?
No, we didn't know about it. But
okay. I was going to ask: is that on archived where we could go back and listen to it?
Give it a couple of days. It's a very long call. It's 3 hours, when the team is still working on putting it together. It will be available in the next couple of days. Are you guys subscribed to the YouTube channel where you'll get the notification when it's released?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as soon as it's released, you'll get the notification that it's ready.
Okay, super.
How you doing, young man? It's good to hear your voice again.
Thank you. Same as you guys.
Freedom, I just want to tell you, for all the people out there that are feeling they're on a lonely journey, I have to tell you, this journey has been long, but the people that God has put in front of me that I've met that are strangers, unbelievable. People that I'm going to be recruiting for my foundation. So God is good, and just tell people to hang on to there. My dad calls it the funny money, but not anymore. I went from the funny money to the smartest kid he's got.
I love it.
I'm going to let somebody else talk. And again, thank you so much for all your information. I do appreciate you, young man.
What I would like for you to do, yes, indeed, young lady, I would like for you to do something for us all. Is if you can quickly recap and summarize the story that you mentioned about going to the bank and getting the confirmation that this is real? Can you do that briefly? Because just in case if some people didn't hear it.
Right now, again?
Yeah, right now, again, even up to the moment when you had to go to the potty. Give us that
When
story.
I went to the first bank, I went because I went to have the currency notarized that I was giving away so that the people I gave it to would not have any problem. That vice president knew nothing, even though she was a friend because she opened up my checking account 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The second time I went to the bank is when I was receiving my Social Security and my retirement because I was a flight attendant for 19 years. And I was being told by the vice president of the bank that we have a wealth management team that could help you invest that. And so I asked her, I said, well, I'm expecting, I said, to come into some money. I said, what do you know about foreign currencies? And she looked at me and she said, what currencies are we talking about? And I named the currencies I had. She told me a lot of people believe that's a scam. I said, I don't think so. Your CEO, Jamie Dimon, is over in Iraq building banks, and he was just there. And she said, she leaned over and she said, we're just waiting for them to pull the trigger. As a matter of fact, she gave my husband and I her personal card for when it goes through. And that I was excited because that was like, okay, I'm not crazy. Somebody finally knows. Then I told you I had a problem with some money being missing from my account. And when I went into the bank, and God had me in there for 6 hours, I went up to go to the bathroom, and the wealth manager came over from the JP Morgan side to open up the bathroom. And I looked at him, I said, I'm having a really bad day. I said, I'm going to ask you, He goes, do I know about the Iraqi dinar? I was shocked because I didn't even get the words out. So I felt like God had him there. And he said that he asked if I had, he wanted to know, I asked if he had the Delarue machines. He told me that they would take my currency, they would put it in my account, and then they would send it off because they didn't have the machines there. What I didn't tell you is I went back a week later because we still had problems. I took my husband in there and I said, we are on the same page, aren't we? Are we? He said he gave my husband he gave me a high five. And he put his hand on my husband's shoulder. He says, we are definitely on the same page.
Beautiful.
But so that's my story.
He said they had received training.
Oh, and he did. I said, I heard that y'all were completing training. He goes, yes, we have.
My
husband asked him if he was
FedNow and Basel III compliant.
He pulled his phone out. He looked. He goes, we are now.
Absolutely. And I thank you so much, Dale, for back there mentioning, and you mentioned that. Thank you. Because I'm sure you both recall when Goldilocks shared that the banks were doing currency exchange training, right? You guys remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And you guys got confirmation directly from the bank.
Yes.
From two different banks and two different VPs, one of Chase and the other from JP Morgan.
There you go.
And it was pretty awesome because I told him, I said, look, I know that you're probably under an NDA and you probably can't say a whole lot, but I just want to make sure that we're kind of on the same page. And as my wife said, he grabbed her hand and then he put his hand on my shoulder and looked at us both in the eye and said, without a doubt, we are definitely on the same page. It's just a matter of when.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you both. We're so glad that you both finally found us. That's awesome. And we're looking forward to continuing this journey with you all.
Well, thank you so much. Guys. Sounds good to us too. Y'all have a blessed night.
All right. You too. And folks, I don't want to forget, make sure Dee's, if you haven't joined Dee's room, do not miss the opportunity. The link is in the room. Join Dee Gross's room. She shares a wealth of knowledge and information with us every single day with articles that's out there. So make sure. Lady E, you're unmuted. Did you have a question? There you go. Oh, no. All right. So, if that was a mistake. Okay, now hiding in the mirror. You can unmute.
Here I am. Aha.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I apologize. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Nope. It's good to hear your voice.
Right.
I know, Justin, you appreciate that.
I did. Absolutely. Oh, my goodness.
All right, folks. Who's next? Who has a question? Oh, it's 11 o'clock. All right. Folks, feel free to raise your hand. And we are winding down. If you don't have any more questions, no more questions. Going once. Going twice. 3 times the charm. All right. Jester, anything you want to add, my good brother?
I am good.
You good to go?
It's a nice stopping point right here, I think.
There you go. All right. All right, beautiful folks. We appreciate you. We love you. Elephant, thank you for that info on the BRICS. Thank you all for participating, asking questions. Wow, this was amazing tonight. And don't forget, the call with Wiley will be dropping next couple days. Stay tuned. That will go down in the history books, that call. And I'm sure this one will too. Everyone have a good night. We love you. We appreciate you. Be well. Be kind. Later.
See you later. Bye.
All right. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.